Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I know this is a long-awaited video. I said that I would have made this the week after I posted my last video on how I studied for the MCAT. I just was very caught up with work. I picked up some more shifts, and then every time I had a day off, it was raining. And that's not good lighting. That's no bueno. And then yesterday I tried to film, and there's construction workers bang upstairs, so I don't know, whatever. But now I have time to finally make this video for you guys on how I improved my score from the first time I took my practice test to my actual test by 16 points. Also, if you don't know what I'm talking about and you guys haven't checked out my last video on how I studied for the MCAT, check that out up here. Also, after this MCAT series, I definitely plan on talking more about my application, especially since the application cycle for 21 to 22 is coming up. I might as well share my AMCAS and ACOMAS application. So I definitely plan on doing that and sharing all about my volunteer experiences, my EMT experience, and all that stuff. So stay tuned for that. Also, if you like this kind of content, it'll be a great pleasure if you hit that subscribe button and also hit that notification button, because then you get notified every time I upload a video. Okay, so in this video, I'm gonna share tips and tricks on how I originally improved my 496 score on the MCAT to a 512. So a quick background on my MCAT experience. I did take the MCAT just once, but basically I scheduled to take my MCAT August 2019. I graduated June 2019, so I basically had that summer to study. I completely did not know how to study. I took my practice test basically like 2 weeks before my test date, and I got a 496 on that practice test, which is like a 39th percentile, and I knew at that point there's no way in 2 weeks I can improve my score. I decided to cancel that test date. I barely got a refund for it. I ended up scheduling my test date to January 2020, which gave me plenty of time to really reevaluate what I'm doing wrong and try to fix it. Basically, this whole video is me just telling you what kind of things I did to improve. So how I improved my score by 16 points, and you can too, is basically number one, sorry, my laptop's here, I wrote everything down. I put myself in the right mindset. So originally, like I said, I graduated like a few months before my actual test date. I've been in school for like 5 years, and I just wanted to have some fun, and I thought I could just be disciplined and study my ass off in that summer, and I didn't. I just wanted to have fun. I was burnt out and really underestimated my ability to perform well by that time. Put yourself in the right mindset. I know a lot of students try to apply during their junior year or senior year, which is totally fine, but just understand if you're burnt out, it's gonna be really hard to, do well on the MCAT, because this test is freaking hard and you need to put all your focus to studying and doing practice tests and practice problems and stuff. I definitely suggest if you were to do it during school, try to do it during your summer break or your winter break. And just know if you're gonna be doing it during those breaks, that is the time you cannot mess around. You just gotta focus, grind it out, and take that test and do well on it. Also, when I say put yourself in the right mindset, it's also like putting yourself in a good headspace. When I was studying the first time, I was feeling such heavy imposter syndrome. And I know that's a very common thing among us pre-meds and other pre-health students. But yeah, like you just gotta get out of that funk. Like it's so bad to just always be down and doubt yourself. And the more you doubt yourself and feel this imposter syndrome, like you're not gonna even get into med school, you're like self-sabotaging yourself, and you start feeling this kind of defeat before even trying. It's almost like a fake it till you make it. You gotta have some confidence in your abilities. You work so hard in your pre-med classes, and you're working so hard to get to this point, and you can do well on the MCAT. You just gotta put yourself in the right mindset and in a good headspace at the same time. Don't beat yourself up too much about it, because your anxiety will definitely hinder your ability to focus on the MCAT. Basically what I'm saying. Okay, so what I did this time, the second time around, was that I developed a detailed study plan beforehand. And I know I mentioned in my first video, basically your study plan is always going to change because, you know, things change. You might spend more time on a chapter than you realize. That's totally fine, but you should still have some sort of detailed study plan before you even start studying for the MCAT. It'll really help organize you and really understand how much focus you need to put on, how much time you need to allocate to studying and doing practice problems. I think that'll also help you be on top and be on track of where you want to be at by the time you're going to take your test. Because basically, how I messed up my first time around, I didn't plan anything. That's why literally 2 weeks before, and I took that practice test 2 weeks before my test date, I got, you know, a lower score than I wanted. I think it's just that I wasn't really keeping track of my progress. I was just willy-nilly reading the book, taking some notes, whatever. Like, I was naive. So now you know. I'm telling you what I've learned. So number 3, I gave my study prep more time than I needed. Say I could knock out everything, all the content and practice review within 1.5 months, but I gave myself an extra few weeks just in case, you know, I was feeling burnt out and I needed a break here and there, so then I wouldn't feel so stressed over time. And then also I gave myself scheduled study breaks. The first time around, I did not really give myself scheduled study breaks. I just took study breaks whenever I wanted, and it basically allowed me to slack off more. So the second time around, I gave myself, you know, days off, which were on Sundays. Every Sunday, I just took it off. Knowing that I took off Sundays, it would give me something to look forward to. So for the rest of that week, I knew to just grind and study as hard as I can and really focus and put my energy to it, and then I could just relax on Sunday. I think by increasing your amount of study time and your scheduled study breaks, like that'll really help prevent burnout and overall, you know, improve your mental health and put you in a good mindset. You know, all these tips, they link together. So yes. So number 4, I changed my study environment. I mean, everyone has their own favorite place to study, whatever helps them focus more. That's just something that you need to figure out on your own. And when I first started studying, I studied at coffee shops a lot, like Starbucks. I liked the environment. It put me in a good headspace, but at the same time, it was so loud and noisy with the blender for the frappuccinos, or like just people talking so loud on their phones that even with my noise canceling headphones, it was just too distracting. Then I tried to study at home, but studying at home for too long, I would get bored. And you know, the fridge is right there, the TV's right there, my bed is right there, so I would just kind of allow myself to slack off. So I finally found the perfect study spot, and that was the library. So I ended up just going to my local libraries and just moving to different libraries around other cities. I don't know, just like that really clicked with me. I finally found the best study spot for me, and that it's somewhere quiet and no distractions at all. I still brought my noise canceling headphones just because I don't want to hear a thing. I just want to be in the zone. Also, like a side note is that when I got closer to my exam date and I was doing my practice test, I literally put myself as if I was in that testing environment. And at these MCAT testing sites, they will give you, if you request it, earbuds. And so I would wear earbuds when I studied and when I took my practice test, just because I wanted to get used to the feel of it and just get used to literally being in that environment. And that really helped me focus more. But of course, it's different for everyone. So, you know, what I'm saying is maybe change up your study environment if you've realized that things are getting a little too distracting in your current study situation and you want to slightly improve on things. So number 5, I basically reevaluated my weaknesses and I took more time to work on those. I know it sounds kind of intuitive, but basically when I first started studying, I didn't want to work on my weaknesses because they were my weaknesses, and it's way easier to work on things that you're good at. It's also like a confidence booster when you're like, oh yeah, I know glycolysis, but then I was like really bad at, I don't know, electromagnetism in physics or something. I was also really bad at cars. In the back of my mind, I did not want to do cars. I always ended up skipping cars or like half-assing like my practice on cars just because I didn't want to work on those weaknesses. And guess what? I did not do well on cars. So it just goes to show you really got to work on your weaknesses. At least identify your weaknesses first, and then work on your weaknesses and put more time into that than things that you already know. If you're already an expert on one topic, you really don't need to spend that much more time on it. So number 6, I used external resources. I mentioned this in my previous videos, but I used Khan Academy, other YouTubers who are tutoring on the subject that I needed help on. I think these external resources definitely helped a bunch because they can explain it in probably a better way than your book can. There's a bunch of free stuff out there for the MCAT, you just gotta find it. And lastly, what I did to improve my score is basically I went over every single question on my practice test, right and wrong. You know, I said this before, I feel like you're doing yourself a disservice if you just go over the ones you got wrong. Because even the questions that you got right, how do you know that you got them right for the right reason? For instance, what if you got this question right, but your theory is completely off and the reasoning is totally different for why that is the correct answer? So yeah, you're doing yourself a disservice if you're just going over the wrong answers only. So I went over every single question, I made a Google Doc, and I just quickly went over each topic or subject that I felt that I wasn't 100% certain on, that I knew really well. And then on my study days, I would just review each topic again and maybe do some practice UWorld questions on those topics, and that really helped. As promised, I will reveal my MCAT score. Well, I already mentioned it. I said I got a 512, but my breakdown was basically I got a 131 on my chemistry and physics section. I got a 123 on my car section, a 130 on the biochem section, and a 128 on the psychology and sociology section. So that was my score. Do what you will with that information. But yeah, so those were the 7 things that I felt that I did differently that really improved my score from a 496 to a 512. At the same time, you know, just remember these things are what worked for me. So you guys can definitely just take these things into consideration when you're reevaluating your own study habits. So that's all I have for you guys in this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up. Definitely planning on making more of these kind of videos on my application process and everything like that. Definitely want to post a day in the life of an EMT 24-hour shift kind of video. Probably make that in a few weeks or something. But yeah, really excited to post more content for you all, and I will see you guys next time. Have a great day. Bye.